All right, we're getting very, very close to the big day, of course, election day. And well, I could count myself. My anxiety's through the roof, folks. I don't know. I'm very confident President Trump, but I'm also not very confident in the election for all that's probably going to take place and our way to combat it. So, tensions are all-time high. I know I'm not alone. I know there's a lot of people around the country who also feel the same way. Well, Rasmussen Reports has done a bunch of great polling over the last few days, and I wanted to make sure we highlighted just that. There's this new poll that was just released in regards to potential violence, whether it's Kamala Harris or Trump, who is elected. Now, take a look at this. 51% of likely U.S. voters believe it's likely there will be a violent reaction if Vice President Kamala Harris is elected. 47% also think a violent reaction is likely if President Donald Trump is declared the winner. Now, it's very strange, of course, given the fact that we've seen time and time again, the violence is literally all coming from the left, obviously, to assassination attempts. They're not going on both sides. It's literally only happening to one person. And if you lived through 2016, you remember Antifa and the violence they caused during the inauguration. So, again, very, very strange. Joining me to discuss is the head pollster for Rasmussen Reports, Mr. Mark Mitchell. Mark, this is a good poll. I really like this one because, my tensions are through the roof when it comes to what these election day results are going to be. Actually, I shouldn't say election day results because a lot of states are saying it's going to take us some time to bring in the results. So I'm a little nervous. Now, you're showing that if Kamala Harris is declared the winner, that actually more Americans are a little nervous there's going to be violence if that's the case. So, what are you seeing in this data, and how do you feel about all of this?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is that irregardless of who the candidate who wins is, pretty much half of voters in America think there's going to be violent reactions to whoever's elected. And that we're talking about like 10 days away. So there could be, we could be seeing riots according to voters, but it is Democrats who are more likely to think violence will happen if Kamala Harris is elected. It's 64% of them, but it's only 53% of Republicans who think there will be violence if Trump is elected. And I think, as we've covered before on your show, it's because the absolute radicalization of the left with their Democrat mouthpiece mainstream media outlets who are telling Democrats that Trump's a threat to democracy and that MAGA is dangerous. It's put us in a really bad spot. People are afraid there's going to be violence, and the risk is higher than ever, according to voters, that there's going to be a civil war or revolution in the next few years.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting too, because you did another poll, and I want to get to this one too, that 65% of voters think there will be another assassination attempt on President Trump. Now, interesting enough, actually, Kamala Harris was grilled about this just a few hours ago on the campaign trail. And she was specifically asked as to why she continues to use the same rhetoric that the first two individuals who tried to assassinate President Trump, the two terrorists, I would say, who tried to assassinate President Trump, why she's using that same rhetoric. And instead of, toning it down and walking it back a little bit and apologizing, or even just saying that she doesn't want to keep using those terms, she actually continued to go out there and use that same rhetoric as to referring to him as Hitler, but then citing his former general as the source of that. So again, they're not toning it down. So a lot of Americans agree that there's likely going to be another assassination attempt. What else are you learning about this data?
That's horrifying. And this was taken after literally the second well known assassination attempt, just a week after. But we're talking about asking people the question, how likely is it there to be another assassination attempt between now and election day? We're talking about like a month and a half when we took this temperature. And what's crazy is that that actually is, for her, probably the most viable path to the presidency right now, because all the polls are now agreeing with us that Donald Trump is winning the national popular vote, which makes it very highly unlikely that, regardless of what the state polls say, that
Yeah.
Donald Trump is going to sweep most of the battlegrounds and win the election, as the betting market confirms. So, yeah, I guess she's not going to stop, because that's probably one of her best paths to winning. And Republicans, the number, there was not a lot of response in the polling at the first assassination attempt. Donald Trump was shot in the head, and everybody kind of just like moved on, I think because they expected it. But 75% of Republicans think it's at least somewhat likely that Donald Trump, they're going to try and assassinate him again. And it was like 64% of independents. But we also asked, this was the second assassination attempt, which is more likely, that people are trying to assassinate Trump the people who are doing it are suffering from mental illness, or they're motivated by the rhetoric of Trump's enemies. And rhetoric won among all voters 49 to 36.
Wow.
And Republicans, it was 63 to 28. So everybody sees it's the amount of just absolute insanity being hurled at Donald Trump, calling him Hitler year after year, Russian asset. They're going to take away your abortions, all this stuff, all the fear mongering. And that's kind of all they're left with at this point, because she's certainly not going to win the election based on her likability and policy knowledge, let's just say.
It's so bad because everything they've always accused President Trump of, they themselves do. And then they just turn a blind eye to it when people get a little out of control about it. And it's their own fault. And talking about that too, Mark, there was another great poll that you guys put out, and it's in regards to blaming the media, which I think is interesting. I was listening to MSNBC the other day, actually, and my jaw hit the ground because although they like to accuse those on the right of being crazy and conspiratorial, I was listening to Joy Reid sit there and say that President Trump wants to put guns to the heads of migrants and shuffle them into concentration camps. All right. I've never heard that before. Obviously, if you're someone who's not there in the head and you don't have any balance in your life, you'd actually believe that. And that would create a situation where you'd go out there and try to defend other humans. You'd think that this is rational and go out there and commit a violent act. So it's infuriating. But you guys ask voters, 79% of them say the media is to blame for how divided we've become as a country. I think that's really interesting.
Well, the media is dividing people, as we looked at in our swing state polling. People who watch MSNBC have a totally different issue set than Fox News and Newsmax viewers. They care most about protecting democracy and abortion, which we know are all just code words for Orange Man bad. But yeah, 8-1, more divided. Politics, news in America makes the country more divided. Only 10% say more united. What's fascinating is that the Democrats are kind of right there with the Republicans. They know the media is making people more divided. I think everybody just disagrees on which America is their America. But let's be very clear here. Looking introspectively is not a strength of Democrats. But we are only about 2.5 years past, I think, one of our most famous polls, where we showed that Joe Biden's strongest approvers, about half of them, actually wanted to put Americans in camps. It was the unvaccinated ones. So they're the ones, right, shuffling people off the camps. And you're not going to hear that on MSNBC.
No, no, they won't tell you that one, of course. And the rhetoric is so insane to me because they went so hard during the Trump years when there was a couple of hundred kids reported missing, migrant children, right? And obviously we shouldn't have any children missing, and I think that's horrible. But we have over 300,000 of them missing according to DHS right now. Not a single one of them care. So it's all this fake outrage that's only orchestrated whenever it's politically convenient. And I think that's why the media is kind of warming up to the idea of a second Trump term, because now they could be in the opposition. That means their ratings go up. That means they can come up with all this craziness and pretend to be journalists. And I think that's what we're going to see coming this way and when Trump does take back the White House. So I think it's really, really interesting. Mark Mitchell, thank you for all the great work you guys are doing over Rasmussen. We always appreciate it. And I see that you are actually going prime time these days. I saw you on Fox News the other day. So congratulations.
Yeah, we had our first Fox hit in a decade. It was fun. So,
I love it.
but we,
I love it.
we'll stick to YouTube. We love YouTube. Come follow us at Rasmussen_poll.
There you go. Give him a follow, guys. The link is in the description of this interview. Thank you, Mark. All right, it's my favorite time of the show where I get to tell you about an amazing sale that's going on right now. And if you're wondering where it's at, gotta tell you, it's over at mypillow.com. Mike Lindell has some of your favorite items on sale right now, especially if you're a big fan of the pillows, of course. He's got the classic bed My Pillows available for $14.88 right now. Now, the best way to lock down these savings is with promo code BRE. That's promo code BRE. That is the best way to save the most money over at mypillow.com. And again, folks, there are so many incredible items on sale right now. And he's also added so many items that you probably didn't even know Mike is selling. And it's amazing. It's amazing. I got to tell you about it. These towels, the bed sheets. I actually just got a fresh set of the Giza bed sheets, and I think you should too because they are incredible. So head on over to mypillow.com right now. Take a look around and use promo code BRE to save up to 66% off.